It's currently made it 8/2/24, roughly 09/20. Now just ponder my other video, when you allow injustice, you become one with the beast. Also, when hate overpowers justice. And I was just pondering back to the whole thing about how Dr. Umar said that even one lecture that they're going to allow, they know what's happening to Dr. Cosby is unjust, but because he's a bourgeoisie, not a sellout, but because he's a proper speaking black man, they're going to allow him, or on top of that, he not condemn, but check black people like you're supposed to do. Back in the day, about pulling up your pants and having a more professional or just a for your public eye, because there's this that most rural America whites don't really come in contact with blacks, so they see the images on their TV of you doing all this twerking and drug dealing. So psychologically, it's like, well, they act like animals, they treat like animals. So that's what he was saying. Somebody who was saying, and also somebody who has a degree, Dr. Cosby, in I believe education or just mobilization of education, something like that. But and it's funny because he said we're going to let him, as the black community, not me, like we, but the black community or the conscious black community, said they're going to let him be persecuted, not prosecuted. They know they're doing this wrong. They had no evidence. Even some of the witnesses had to be should have been discredited, because even one of them, ironically, a black woman, stated that she didn't say anything because she didn't want her acting career to be destroyed, not because she feared for her life, which is therefore obstruction of justice. But then we fast forward. So the same person that said that, you have a guy from the civil rights movement, and a black who at the time was the civil rights Black Panther Party, and at the time was a personality that was bringing news and local news to, especially to the black community from North Philly. So all four of these dudes are from the fourth one I'm about to mention is all from North Philly. And he was arrested on false charges of murdering a cop in the time of the 60s when racism was high, or 60s or 70s. And he basically, and then over the years, it came back that there wasn't anyone that actually saw him suffer. They said they, as a facing time, and they got them to against them, in which they've been redacted over the years, because they came out and stated the very fact that, they were convinced or coerced to do it because they would get less of jail time, which is crazy. But he's been in jail since the 70s and been petitioning the the Pennsylvania Supreme Court for a retrial, not to get out of jail, for a simple, fair trial to get out of court, which he's still being denied. Now, Meek Mills, Philly's own, North Philly, drug dealer, got caught with a gun, and even though the cop did some crazy shit, which the case should have been thrown out, you got it, but he then gets arrested while on parole or probation, whatever, because the judge didn't like him or some bullshit, whatever the case, which happens a lot, so I'm not sure why it's so special. But he goes to jail, and then I know that all that mob shit or Rick Ross shit, whoever you connect it to, they even in Philadelphia, they didn't sign Colin Kaepernick at the time of craziness. Philadelphia Eagles owner came out with defense of him. So he got the Supreme Court to get involved with his case after only being locked up for about probably a month or two, if even that, maybe 3 to 6 months, but however the time frame, less than a year, less than half of a year. So they got involved with his case expeditiously. But yet, Mumia Abu-Jamal, who has a case to be overturned, and on the basis of frivolous and fraudulent evidence, and really more police involvement in corruption, still waiting. So they hopped in front of him and got out of jail. So the same person, Mumia Abu-Jamal, his name, Mr. Amir Abu-Jamal, Dr. Umar Johnson didn't say nothing about this. That's my other video, giving the enemy the right or the green light to persecute those who you don't like, even though they did nothing wrong, just because they're not of the mentality of you. So that's about some other video. How are you a drug dealer, and then that destroys the community, but then turn around and talk about saving the community? So how are you a conscious community leader who's speaking about injustice, systematic racism, all type of crazy shit. But then on the basis of, or the foundation that did nothing wrong, but simply, simply don't fit the personality of the hood black man. I would imagine Dr. Cosby didn't feel it exactly. Didn't do anything wrong. No crimes committed, but simply because having a different, more professional, more proper language, you allow them to be persecuted, not prosecuted, persecuted, even admitting that he even point out in that lecture, he pointed out the evidence or lack thereof and why there should not be a case, but yet turned around and said, we're going to allow it to happen to him. So that's why I said I don't think he's the one, like in the Bible, Suleiman, Dawud wanted to build the temple. I don't think you're the type of person I want teaching my children, especially because you're about history or revolution, because you have a record of allowing certain individuals, even especially of your own hue, to be persecuted because they're not of a certain mentality. So what are you going to teach the children of your school? That it's cool to do the same? That's why I wasn't supportive of building a school. Now I have to, being of the Torah and of a righteous and balanced mind, I can no longer, and I would ask for my $100, which I have no children or kids. I would ask for my $100 deposit back, but you can keep it, I guess. But I cannot no longer support such a being making a school supposed to be teaching the black youth about elevation of the mind and fight against supremacy or racial oppression, when you already have a history of promoting oppression of that very thing you're fighting against those who you don't like, not of those who did something wrong, like a rapist, a murderer, somebody that just doesn't fit the personality that you have, which is a lot of black people in the country who are educated and don't wish to be gangsters or speak slang. But simply because of that, they're very ironically, the very thing you're fighting against, which is systematic racism. Somebody who's a racist doesn't like you, not because of who you are, but because of the hue of your skin. From the background you come. You did nothing wrong. See? Coonery. So you call him a bourgeoisie, I see that as coonery. You're calling him, exactly. So you're the very thing you're supposed to be fighting against, you are actually a form of that. Hating somebody, not because they did something wrong, having nothing in which you could say against them. Didn't say, see, and really, like, see, so I said in my other video, sex magic. Ironically, he was the bull that made that video about the awakened order. When you have sex with certain type of beings, you absorb their energy. That's why both like the awakened aura tells you how to clean out your chi. So he having sex with a lot of, especially black women, because he said he don't fuck with white women, that have that hateful shit towards Dr. Cosby and men like him. So by having sex with that, you're absorbing that chi, therefore the personality. That's why on top of it, married anyway, so you're supposed to be loyal to your spouse. But by going into that chi, that womb that you say is polluted by having multiple sex partners and not being able to clean out your chi, you're now diving into that. So those when you sit down and talk with her or reason with her before and after, and you still see her, that mentality, she has like the mentality of the woman, especially the black woman, that will destroy you because you don't want to be with her. Will withhold your kids from you, will try to take everything from you in divorce court, even though you could have been an upstanding, faithful, loyal husband. But she just mad because spoiled brat syndrome and or craziness, hateful, whatever the reason. You're diving into that. So that to me also was the influence. See, exactly, he was basically speaking the mind of the black woman, or mostly the black community, but especially the black women that, see, women like that, they're spoiled and privileged, so they hate when somebody says no to them. So like in a relationship, when you say it's over, they just want to destroy you. So that's who he sounded like when he was saying that shit. Like, you, as a man, not only a man, but a man for your people. You said, so you basically gave the green light for your people to the enemy to say it's cool to prosecute them because we don't like them. But guess what? That's systematic racism. And really, a lot of it is not even on the terms of not liking you. It's to keep a certain group above another group. But you just became the enemy, so therefore you're now my enemy. You just support. On top of that, Dr. Cosby made the Cosby Show, a different world. And as he said out of his own mouth, was trying to buy NBC to put more productive, the very thing you say, all you see is negative on TV, put more productive Cosby with different world type of programming on the television. So by you saying, and on top of that, my other video, that's why I say giving the enemy the green light part 1 and 2, I think it was part 2. Well, that means if you on that level, you can't hang with no drug dealers. You can't hang with no scammers. But yeah, he does it. He does this. The poisoner of the black community, which is a drug dealer, which what opens the door for molestation, rape, child abuse, and child separation because their parents are ill-equipped to raise them, and they bring around some shiesty, nasty characters around their children. So the very thing in which he did not do yet was accused of, a lot of the people you hang out with, the product they're pushing is creating that environment. So how are you going to hate on Dr. Cosby and he did nothing wrong, but yet hang around and associate and support such beings that are creating that environment? Return to Dark Side of Candor.